Hello everyone. This is not going to be a normal video. This isn't a review, this isn't talking about a product, this is talking about me. This is a thank you for 1,000 subscribers, and I wanted to take the opportunity to talk about why I'm making videos, how I'm making videos, and address my kind of approach to a few different things. So I guess the first thing is, thank you so much to the 1,000 people that are now subscribed to me. I did not think that would happen. I certainly didn't think it would happen that quick. I'm glad you guys have been enjoying the content I've been making. I've had a huge amount of fun making it, and I'm looking forward to making more in the future. I've got a couple things changing. I'm actually going to be moving my entire setup so that I can make videos a little bit more frequently. Right now, you might notice I'm filming at night, and that's because I live next to a road. During the day, there's loads of traffic, and so I can't film. And so I'm actually going to be moving to a room at the back of the house so that I can film during the day and I can get videos done more frequently. I have been having a huge amount of fun, and I'm looking forward to making more stuff in the future. So the first thing then, why am I doing this? Why am I making videos? Why am I sitting in front of my PC and talking about DACs and amps and headphones and cables and whatever? Because I love it. Because this is great fun, because this is my hobby. I love enjoying the music, I love sharing the music, I love talking about different pieces of audio equipment, both for the enjoyment of the music itself and what they bring to that, but also the engineering side of things as well. I appreciate a well-designed product, and I appreciate the just cleverness that has gone into some of them, as well as obviously how they sound and how they allow me and others to enjoy music better. So that's why I'm doing it. I'm not doing this to make a job out of it. I'm not doing this to make income. I'm doing this because I love it. Doing videos, making reviews, that gives me an opportunity to talk about things I wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to talk about, to try things I wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to try, and to share a discussion with more people. Before I was making videos, I was quite involved in a bunch of Discord groups, Telegram groups, forums, because again, I love talking about this stuff. I love sharing things and I love discussing it with people, and I wanted to do that more. So this is a fantastic platform to do that. The other reason is there's two kinds of content on YouTube that I could not find that I wanted to see. The first is unbiased reviews. I wanted reviews that weren't in any way subjected to any kind of bias. Now, this isn't a dig at anyone. I understand it's really difficult to make a living out of YouTube. It's difficult to make income, and in a niche area like hi-fi, you have to monetize every little bit you can. That's fine, and I totally understand that, and I appreciate people like DMS, Zeos, Josh Valor. I've been a patron of Zeos's for 3 years now, I think. It's fantastic that he's able to make a full-time job out of that. I'm not looking to do that. I'm looking to do things a bit differently. I'm never using affiliate links, ever. Because if you have a financial incentive to give a positive review, or to gloss over faults, or to be nicer so that the manufacturer will still send you stuff, that means you're slightly biased, at least, and for some people, very biased. There are a couple reviewers who, it's quite obvious. I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm never going to use affiliate links, and wherever possible, I will try to get products either by buying them myself, or by getting a viewer or a friend to send it to me, because then I can speak my mind. I can be honest, I can be fair, and that's important not just because then I can criticize the product if it needs criticizing. It's also important because then if I'm positive about a product, if I say, hey, I love this, I think this is fantastic, you know that I'm not saying that because I want you to use my affiliate link and get me paid effectively. I'm saying it because I think that product's fantastic. I want you guys to be able to trust the words that are coming out of my mouth. And I want you to know with certainty that if I'm saying something is bad, it's because I think it's bad. And if I say something is good, it's because I actually think it's good, not because I'm trying to get more people to use my affiliate link and make more money. I also use music in my videos, and I do that because, that gets the videos demonetized instantly, before they even go live, straight away, just demonetized. I don't care, because that makes for better videos. It means that I get to share good music with you guys, which a few people have commented that they are enjoying, so that's fantastic, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, right? Sharing the music. But it also means that I can be more effective in how I communicate my thoughts on a product. If I can talk about a product with a reference point, saying at this point in the song, this specific element has these aspects to the sound, you as a viewer have a much better picture of what I'm hearing rather than me just talking about the product in an abstract fashion with no point of reference whatsoever. So that's why I use music, because it makes for a better video, more effective, and it's more entertaining. If you think that not using affiliate links and using music and making videos in the way that I am is good, then you can support me on Patreon or Subscribestar. There are links to those in the description below. That's the only income I'm making for this. I'm not making any income from the YouTube itself whatsoever, and I'm perfectly happy that way because, like I said, I'm doing this for fun. I'm doing this because I love it, because I really enjoy it. And so people who want to support me on Patreon, I really appreciate it, and we have a private Telegram chat for those guys. But I'm not looking to make a job out of this, and I don't want to do anything that could compromise my integrity for the sake of making a buck. I want to make the best, most effective, entertaining videos I can. That is my priority. And the second kind of content is videos explaining somewhat complex topics like how does a Delta Sigma DAC work, why do DDCs make a difference, what the hell is upsampling doing, all of those things which are quite complex but don't need to be. You can explain them simply if you understand them properly. But there wasn't that kind of content available. There's a lot of very in-depth stuff in academic papers and electronic engineering articles, signal processing, whatever. It's not like it's a secret as to how a Delta Sigma DAC works. But as a newcomer to the hobby, it's a pretty daunting thing to try and understand. And there wasn't anyone who can explain it in simple terms that I, as a non-engineer, if I'm new to this hobby, could understand. And so I wanted to change that. I wanted to, so for example, with the DDC video, I made a video saying, yes, DDCs make a difference. Here is the simple explanation as to why, and here is some evidence that it is making a difference. Simple as that, really. And I've got a video coming explaining each step in the digital to analog conversion process, so that should be quite interesting as well. I'm talking about these things, again, because they're interesting to me. I find them fascinating, and I want to share that with more people. So that then brings me on to, well, how do I review stuff? And to start, I should probably explain my main setup, the reference components I use to compare things against most of the time. Digital sources, I'll use 4 things. My main PC, a Raspberry Pi USB, which is an ideal sort of clean source for multiple outputs, SMS 200 Ultra as a single device, really ideal USB source, and then the Pi 2 AES that supports I2S, AES, coax, SPDIF, optical. That's a fantastic source as well. That way, I've got 2 excellent sources, and I can also connect to my PC to test how a DAC does in a normal situation, because there's a lot of DACs where they'll measure great in ideal situations, and they'll sound great in ideal situations, but then they don't handle external noise very well. They don't handle real-world scenarios very well, so I like to test for that. That's something which disappointingly few people do. In terms of the DAC, I'm using a Hollow May. That's for a few reasons. Firstly, it sounds fantastic. This is, to my ears, the best DAC I have heard thus far, with the potential exception of the DCS Vivaldi, but the DCS Vivaldi is like 20 grand, so... And also, it's the best measuring R2R DAC you can get. It's an R2R DAC that outperforms a lot of Delta Sigma DACs, both in dynamic range, crosstalk, because it's completely dual mono, slew rate, it's NOS. You can run external oversampling because it's got really high input sample rate support, 1.5 megahertz. In fact, you can use internal oversampling, and it's also got a Delta Sigma DAC inside it. It's got a dedicated 1-bit converter for DSD, so I can then use either internal OS, PCM, DSD, NOS, internal oversampling or external oversampling via HQ Player to compare that as a really good high-performance, both subjective and objective reference point to any other DAC. So that's fantastic. And because the jitter performance is so good, I can also use it to test digital sources. Because with the PLL on, the jitter's at like minus 170. It's kind of nuts. Video full review coming on that, but that's why I use that. The gold point. So this is temporary. I've had this for a while and I love it. It's the cleanest way you can do volume control realistically. It's resistors in a box. The main caveat being you can't use long interconnects. Now for a headphone system like this, that's not a problem. I've just got 0.5 meter interconnects going to the amp and it's fine. I'm upgrading to an active preamp. I've got the Hollow Serene, which measures fantastically and hopefully will sound great coming. And that's because that's got more inputs and outputs, so I can connect more DACs, more amps at the same time. This is just one input, 2 output. And also so that then I can run speakers because, as I said, you can't really use long interconnects. And where I might be having 3 or 4 meters to monoblocks or something, I wanted to make sure that the preamp can do that, whereas you can't with the passive. So that'll be going. But for now, basically, uber clean stepped attenuator. Measurements are linked in the description. This then is the benchmark AHP2, and that's just running speaker tap to an XLR female adapter like that. That was made by Skedra, and that's for a few reasons. Again, firstly, subjectively it sounds fantastic. Not on low gain. If you use that in low gain, it sounds pretty flat and clinical. Don't know why. Put it in medium or high gain and it's fantastic. It is actually doing something different internally. Like there's a different number of relay clicks on startup if you use low gain. So not sure what's going on. But anyway, it measures amazingly. So for those of you who are objectivists, it's fantastic, as is that, as is that. This is a very objectively high-performing chain, but it sounds great, and it's got so much power. It's got 100 watts at 8 ohms, 25 watts at 32 ohms, so you can power Svedra and stuff like that with no sweat, and it's got such a low noise floor that you can run IEMs on it. So you can run absolutely any kind of headphone you like off that single amp. You don't need to worry. All whilst it's sounding great. And it's also very neutral. It's not a clinical amp like the 789. It's not a warm amp like the Asgard 3. It is the closest thing I've heard to actually neutral without any kind of coloration. I love that amp. That is my reference point for now. That doesn't mean it's the best amp. That means it's my reference for uncolored, effectively. And then with headphones, I have the HiFiMan Svedra. That is my highest performing headphone. I've got the HiFiMan Aria. I've got the HD100. A couple IEMs. These are the Harmonic Dyne Zeus. These were sent to me for review. These aren't actually mine. And those are the 3 headphones I'll use to test stuff. The Svedra is obviously my highest performing one, but I can't use that with most amps because you need a speaker amp. So I mostly use that with DACs. Aria is a fantastic headphone, as is the HD800, and both of these will show amp differences quite well. The Arias are a little bit harder to drive, so you can't use those with the JDS Atom or something, but the HD800 you can run on most portable stuff without any kind of issue. It's not hard to drive at all. So those are the headphones I use for testing most amps, other than portable stuff. I'll try to use IEMs for those. So then, for DACs, the first thing I do is I get the DAC, I put it on the desk, I connect it, and I listen. I'll listen for a couple days to get to know it. I'll play through both just as if it were my own DAC, just listening to random music, whatever Rune Radio suggests, and also on my demo playlist. Each song here demonstrates something specific, and I'll put this on Tidal or Spotify. There'll be a link in the description, probably not immediately, but at some point. And I use these to test specific things on any kind of gear. So I do that, I get to know it, then I do a blind test. I connect all of these, volume matched first. I use the ADI2 to volume match to 0.01 dB, connect them to an XLR switch box. I try to keep the cables consistent as well. Everything at the moment I'm using AudioQuest Mackenzie interconnects, so AudioQuest has actually sent me a bunch of cables on long-term loan to use in my reviews. There's a big box over there, both digital and analog. Thank you, AudioQuest, and that's fantastic because that means everything is consistent. I'm using the same cables for everything, ideally the same length as well, so there's no question that the cables are potentially changing something. If something includes a power supply or a stock power cable or something, I'll use that. If not, then I'll use the ones I have on hand. This is an iFi iPower 5V, for example, because the Modius doesn't include a power supply. So, once I've connected it to the XLR switch, that just goes to the rest of the chain, then I will spend some time quick switching, just to see if there's any immediate differences that stand out. I'll also spend a little bit of time just, switching, listen for 60 seconds or for half a song, go back, switch again and listen again. And then I'll also spend some time just switching every 5-10 minutes, because you pick different things up depending on if you're switching really fast or listening for extended periods of time. And with anything I'm testing, I'll also make sure just to use it for a whole night or something. Just use it as if it were my own, and then switch back to my reference component. So if I'm using this, I will use this for a bit, and then after the whole night, I'll switch back to the May, because sometimes when you do that, something will jump out at you, which wouldn't in a quick switch. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but using something for a longer period of time and then switching sometimes can make differences more obvious than quick switching. So, if I pass the blind test, I'll have a housemate change the cables and I can correctly guess which one is which I can't always do. Some DACs do sound basically identical. Motu M2 and SMSL SU8, I couldn't tell the difference between them. Modius, May and SGD1, I can tell the difference between those quite easily. It's important to do blind tests though. No one is immune from placebo. Everyone is susceptible to placebo and expectation bias. It is important to do blind tests to make sure you are actually hearing the things that you think you're hearing, because your ears can deceive you. It's important to do that. Once I've passed that, then I'll spend a little bit more time non-blind comparing. And then I'll do the review, and I'll talk about what I found, what I like about the product, what I don't like, design aspects, and I'll look internally as well if the person who sent it to me is happy for me to open it up, and I'll talk about actual hardware features as well. And then once I form my subjective impressions of a DAC, I'll measure it, and I'll do that with the ADI2 Pro. The ADC in this is really high performance. There's an article by Arsha Margot talking about the actual performance of that. It's fantastic. It's really, really good. I am in the process of getting a front-end notch filter as well so that I can do even more precise measurements for those of you who know how that works. But for anything other than measuring really, really high performance stuff, that's absolutely fine. Jitter tests, THD, any kind of recordings for null tests, that's perfect. It's a fantastic bit of kit. Amps then. So amps, I don't have a quick switcher at the moment. I don't have a switch that comes off the end. So I am relying on just unplugging the headphones, plugging them into a different amp and seeing what differences pop out. I would like to get a switcher in the future, but at the moment I haven't done so many amp reviews, so it's not a huge priority. I will look at doing that in the future though. And the same for headphones. You can't blind test headphones because obviously you know which headphone is on your head. It's not exactly subtle. So that is just a case of trying them on, listening, using them for both quick switching and quick comparing between headphones and amps, and also then using them for extended periods of time and seeing what you notice. Amp differences and headphone differences are normally a lot more obvious than DACs though. DACs, you don't, unless they're higher end DACs, you don't tend to see particularly obvious differences because most of them are mostly using the same chips. It's all, same family of AKM or ESS chips, or, I mean, this one's quite different because it's a multi-bit chip, for example. Most of them are fairly similar. It's only at the really high end where things do start sounding quite different because they're doing the reconstruction differently, the conversion differently, the output stage is custom, everything's very different, and you start seeing bigger differences there. Headphones and amps, at all levels, it's obvious. You put a Sesvara on, it doesn't sound anything like an Aria. You put an HD800 on, it doesn't sound anything like a Zeus. So it's not really something that needs blind testing as such. So that's how I test stuff. That's the equipment I'm using. That's why I'm using it. And if you do have any questions about any of that, then ask me in the comments below or join my Discord or private Telegram chat if you're a patron and ask me there. I'm more than happy to discuss it, more than happy to take suggestions as well. If you have a criticism about my setup or something that you think I can improve, let me know. I'm all ears. What do I review? Well, the simple answer is anything that interests me. I'm not really focusing on keeping up with the latest products and latest hype train stuff unless it's interesting. I'm more than happy to take a look. So, for example, this is the Black Label from iFi. This is interesting to me because it's a ridiculous amount of power for a portable. That's interesting to me because it's a ridiculously well measuring and great sounding R2R DAC. The ADI2 is interesting to me because it's got just ungodly amounts of features. That's interesting to me because it's a super cheap R2R DAC. That's interesting to me just because it's cool. That's interesting to me because there's not really anything like it. The Mojo, again, that's doing some really interesting stuff in terms of reconstruction. I talk about stuff that's interesting to me. Something like the Oppo HA2 SE. This is a nice product. I like it. Sounds good. I think it's good for the money. I probably wouldn't do a review of it, though, just because it's not really stand out in any way. But it's fine. I like it. It's nice. If you as a viewer have something that you think I would be interested in, then do shoot me a message. I would love to test anything that you might want to send in. I like trying and reviewing anything new. That's why I'm doing this, because I love trying stuff. I love talking about stuff, and I love sharing stuff. So anything that you might want reviewed, do let me know. And if you're a manufacturer watching this, I'm always happy to take a look at your new products as well. Anything that you might want to get in front of the eyes of viewers, I'm happy to have a look at and review. So then, I did actually ask for you guys to ask a few questions, and so let's have a look at that. Waiting for your review on HQ Player and how you use it with Rune and Pi2AES. Well, the Pi2AES is just running an OS called RoPie, which there's a link to in the description. A full video on how to set that up will be coming as well. And in Rune, you just go to Settings, Setup, and click Add HQ Player, and that just adds it as an output device. Again, full video step-by-step on how to put that together, program it, and everything will be coming. That's the gist of it, though. It's fairly simple. King Jong-un, I'd like to ask you who your favorite patron is. I don't have a favorite patron because it's like choosing between your children. But your avatar does make me giggle every time I edit, so thank you for that. Tom K, could you give your thoughts and understanding on burn-in, please? I've noticed that you mentioned it recently on Discord about a pair of headphones. And whilst I haven't looked into it thoroughly, I've always been under the impression it didn't exist, or at least didn't exist to any extent detectable by human ears, aside from any brain burn-in phenomenon. I didn't experience any burn-in with my HD800, and I didn't think it was real until I got the Arias. The Arias, over the first sort of 40 hours I had them, these are the V1s, by the way, they changed massively. Like, it wasn't subtle in the slightest. They became different headphones. When I got my Sesvara, I thought that I heard burn-in. It was subtle, much more subtle than on the Aria, but it was definitely noticeable. There was a kind of grain on the treble initially, which went away over about 50 hours or so. I was happy to put that down to brain burn-in, but then I actually had a bit of an issue with my Sesvaras. Hi-Fi Man replaced them with a brand new pair, and the new pair had the same thing. It had that grain, which then went away over about 50 hours. Obviously, my brain had already burned in, so it wasn't that. I don't have a headphone measurement rig. I would love to get one, and I will at some point once I've worked out what the best option is, because they're quite expensive in order to get one that does conform to the proper standards, and I will do a test on that. For me, it makes sense why there should be burn-in. Capacitors do change over time. These are a mechanical moving device. It's not like they are going to be exactly the same on the first day you got them as they are 5 years from now. Mechanical products and designs do change over time, and it's the same as in a car. When you get a new car, the manufacturer says, hey, don't fucking redline it for the first 5,000 miles or so. You have to be a bit more gentle. So with headphones, I don't know. We'll have to find out. I will do a video on that once I get a proper rig, and we'll do some objective testing and see. For now, though, yes, I do think burn-in exists, at least on planar drivers, maybe not with dynamics, but we'll find out. I will test it in future, though. I've enjoyed your videos so far. I'm quite new to the audiophile world, but have been sucked in quite quick, and I've ended up with a pair of LCDX and an iFi Zencan/DAC stack. I'm wondering how much of a difference a more expensive DAC and amp would make. I find it hard to justify spending more than I already have when the cans power the X's so easily. Let's just adjust my camera a bit there. Yes, I agree with you. The Zencan and DAC, I've not tried them myself, but those whose ears I trust have, and they say they're good. You don't need much power for the LCDX at all. You can run them on an Apple dongle. You really do not need much. If I were you, I would stick with that source chain. It's a perfectly good source chain. In fact, it's a pretty good source chain. I would look at spending money on upgrading the headphones if you did want to spend more money. There's no need to upgrade from what you have unless you want a change in signature. If you were going to upgrade, though, I would upgrade the headphones. Do a Beats Pro review, please. Yes, I will. I do actually have a genuine pair of Beats Pros, and that's because when I was in the US, I was there whilst Radio Shack was closing down, and I thought, hey, let's get that, because then I can just resell it. It was like a third of the normal price, and I thought I could just resell it on eBay for more than I paid for it, not knowing how flooded with fakes eBay is. So now I've got a pair of unsellable Beats Pros. I will do a review of those in future. Why don't you have Mest yet? Skedra is sending me those. Skedra is sending me those. Skedra, by the way, is the guy that made this gorgeous cable. It's so soft. Look how soft it is. It's amazing. That man has magic hands. He makes amazing cables. Again, link in the description. He's sending me the Mest and the SA1. He did offer to send it this week. I said no, though, just because I had a bunch of real-life work I had to do. I wouldn't have had time, so I declined. But hopefully I'll get those sometime in the near future. So yes, Mest review will be coming. One other quick question, which wasn't asked here, but a few people have messaged me, so I figured I'd share it, is how have I got this working? How have I got it so that when I'm playing stuff through my main DAC, it's going on the screen? That is Wallpaper Engine. It's my custom config for that. There's a link in the description to my config, which you can then change from there. It's being fed by a virtual cable, which I have grouped with my DAC in Rune. So Rune is basically feeding the DAC and the virtual cable at the same time. Wallpaper Engine then reads from the virtual cable, and you get that. So that way you can have proper ASIO, bit-perfect output to your DAC and the visualizer on screen at the same time. This, by the way, is being fed by the Pi2AES. This is a standalone device. You just plug SPDIF into it, so that's why I've got the Pi2AES grouped here, because then I can feed the DACs, the Pi2AES, the wallpaper, and that all at the same time. So that's how that works. That's about it, really. If you have any particular questions, then again, do join my Discord, join my private Telegram chat, or ask me in the comments. Thank you guys so much for 1,000 subscribers. I can't believe how quickly that happened. I've been having huge amounts of fun. I'm looking forward to doing more stuff. That's a little bit of an insight into how I make videos, why I'm making videos. Yeah. Until next time, have a great day.